In this video, I'm going to do a brief review of linear representations and a brief review of how to find the slope-intercept equation of a linear line given a table / 2 points. So starting out, we're solely focusing on slope-intercept form. Okay, and that is y equals mx plus b, where b is your y-intercept, m is your slope, and x is input, and y output. So we're going to look at, and in class I've called this a PETS diagram before, where we're looking at our plot, our equation, table, and scenario. So first, we will look at y equals 2x plus 1. Right, and so if this did not have a scenario to go along with it and all you had was the equation and the graph, we would use our y-intercept to plot our first point. So it is 1. And then our slope is 2. And because it's a whole number, we would put it as 2 over 1. So we can do our rise over run. And so you would rise 2 and run 1 to find your next point. Rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. Okay, now let's say that there was a story attached to it. Johnny has $1 in his account and saves $2 each week. So if that's the case, if we're starting with $1 and that's showing up on this axis, that would mean that this axis over here represents money. And down here, and I know there's not a ton of space, but this would represent weeks. So after 1 week, you would have $3. After 2 weeks, $5, 3 weeks, $7, and so forth. And if we were to look at that in a table, okay, x, y, where x is weeks, and y is total money. Like I said, at the beginning, week 0, he's got $1. But after week 1, he now has $3. And week 2, he now has $5. So that would be my 4 representations. We've got our equation, our story, our table, and our graph. And you'll notice I did not connect these dots. We would consider this, although time is a continuous, could be considered a continuous domain, it says that he's saving each week, so we're not looking in between the weeks. So week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and so forth. Now, you won't always be given it in that order. Sometimes you'll just be given a table or maybe just a graph. The graph is usually easier to find the equation from because you can count and say, all right, my y-intercept is 1, and from there I go up 2 and over 1 to get 2 over 1 as my slope. Okay, so that becomes easier when you're writing your equation. What's harder is when you're just given the table. So that'll be the next thing that we go over. so I accidentally drew an extra box. I'm just going to erase that. All right, so in this case, what we're looking to do is to define some of our variables. So we're going to be defining x, y, m, and b, because our goal is to get to y equals mx plus b. Now, in order to do that, we've got to remember our slope formula. So if you remember, m equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. In order to do that, you need 2 points, and we've got 3 right here. I personally would choose this one. Oops, it's a really ugly arrow. I would choose this one and this one. I choose this one because it's all positive, and ones are usually easier to work with. So if I were to pull those 2 points out and just write them as points, I'd have 1, 1 and 3, 5. Now, it says y1 and y2. Those are my y values, which would be these values. And then it says x1 and x2. These are my x values. It does not matter which order you put them in. You can put the 5 first or the 1 first, as long as the points are still above and below each other, like 5 should be above 3 and -1 should be above 1. So 5 minus -1, and then below that, since 5's corresponding x value is 3, it should go below 5, and then -1. And then if I solve that, 5 minus -1 would be 6, because these two combine to give us a plus sign, and 3 minus 1 is 2, so our slope would be 3. So if we come back over here to our defined variables, we can now define m. We don't know b yet, but we have 3 options to choose from for x and y. So personally, I like working with ones because they're easy, so I'm going to choose 1 and -1. So if we have y equals mx plus b, all right, we now know 3 of our variables in here. There's only 1 missing, so we're going to fill in what we know. So y is -1, m is 3, x is 1, and we don't know b. Our goal is to figure out b. So -1 is equal to 3 times 1 would be 3 plus b. My last step is to get b by itself, so I'm going to subtract 3, which leaves me with -4 equals b. So I can now take this and put it over here in my defined variables, and now I can write my final equation. Now, I only want to use these 2 in my final equation. I don't want to put in x and y, because the whole point is that we can write this equation for any value of x and y. So my final equation would be y equals 3x minus 4.